Almost good to go. Okay, man, this is great. All right, Jason Long, thanks for hanging out. It is exactly right now 10 o'clock Central, so we are on time, and I'm so glad to have you here. So before we jump in and get started, just give everybody a little bit of where you are in the world right now. What's COVID life like? I know you're a crazy, insane world traveler. So, and what's it like right now?
It's it's kind of boring actually. Uh, yeah, normally I would be actually right now I would be getting ready to go to Bangkok right now. I'm usually in Southeast Asia for the fall, and today I am at home in Atlanta, just sitting here working. Not that I would be leaving, like not that I don't want to be here talking to you and everybody else, but yeah, I'd be getting ready, if not already on the way to Southeast Asia right now.
Oh
And,
man!
yeah, so it's a
So you
little.
would do the loop, right? Um,
Yep, we do.
yeah. So explain that loop for those who have never lived that digital nomad life. I only do my nomadic state in the summer because we have kids. But how does that annual loop go?
The annual loop for me is, let's say, starting this time of year. I'd be right now. I'd be either on a plane or have just landed in Bangkok. And then usually I'm going to do my fall in Southeast Asia. So maybe some in Bali, some in Chiang Mai, some in Krabi. And then I usually go to a conference in Bangkok every year at the end of October. And then, so I'd stay there for somewhere between 2 and 3 months, somewhere, usually leaving just before Christmas or just after Christmas sometimes. To come back and spend some time with family back in the States. And then it's winter. So then we head down to South America. We usually spend the winters in Medellin. Although we were looking, this year we were in Medellin, and and that's in Colombia for anybody who doesn't know. So we were in Colombia when COVID was happening, and we were going to keep on going, but we had to go home. So, and then after that, we'll go home, we'll go back to the States again, see family, and then head back to Europe for the summer, either Europe or the West Coast US. And then we just do that loop every year. We've done that for 5 or 6 years now, something like that.
It's so fantastic. Like, good for you. Way to get out there and do it. Well, sorry you're stuck in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's a great town, but I'm sorry you're not traveling.
I'm going to work out a lot. So.
Let's dive in on some good stuff. So we're going to talk about gaining enterprise clients. And really, there's so much change going on right now. And you and I were just talking a while ago about just how desperate some of those larger clients are to have to make shifts happen fast. And for all of us in this group who are marketers and digital agencies, storytellers of some sort, there's just so much opportunity there, but people don't see it and don't understand how to catch on to it. So first up, kind of give us a little bit of your background experience, like where you are as a professional and how you're leaning in on this, and then walk us through some change. And again, anybody who's watching, feel free to ask questions, pop them up there as we go, and we'll make sure we set you straight and get you as close on track as we can today. Take the advantage while you got Jason on the phone. Get him. He's not cheap, so ask your questions while you can.
All right. So my background, I own a portfolio of agencies, productized services, SaaS, and outsourcing companies, as well as other more traditional companies. I own real estate, and I actually used to own a 60-acre blueberry farm as well, among a few other things. And I still maintain an advisor role, and I actually still maintain the title CEO of several of those businesses. Mm-hmm. But my executive team handles most of that because these days I'm operating as the leader of one of the largest niche EHR companies in the US, specifically in long-term care. So I manage a fair-sized team of people that is selling EHR products and services to long-term care facilities across the U.S.
That's electronic health records systems, like a digital. It's a client resource management basically for medical offices that keep up with a lot of data. For those of you who aren't in the medical world.
Yep. So we manage all the clinical records. We manage. It's a gigantic system. It's like a hospital management system. It's gigantic. It's when I came into it, I underestimated the size of what that system really is. So that's my day job right now. And then in my nights, weekends, sometimes my days, I'll come in and help out with my other teams when they're having questions, problems, whatever. And And yeah, so that's and I've been doing it for 20 years now. I started my agency in 2000, or actually just before 2000. Got merged into another group in 2002. We built another mapping company in 2002. Then launched another web dev agency with my long-term business partner Jeremy Minnick. And then he and I, we built a SaaS system in 2007. He split off to take care of that, and then I built a whole bunch of other businesses after that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been kind of a bumpy ride. It hasn't been super smooth the whole time. These days, it's pretty good. It took me a long time to figure out what I was doing, how to do it, and that's one of the reasons I'm always so happy to talk to people like your audience to teach them the things that I learned over those years, because I learned some things really the hard way.
It's cool to hear you say it's smooth right now, especially with all this crazy worldwide bumpy stuff we got going on. So, all right, let's talk about what's changing, and specifically about enterprise clients. That the enterprise client conversation comes up frequently in this group because people are honestly unaware of or scared to approach the enterprise client, but they're so desperate. Like the enterprise group is so needy right now, and there's so much opportunity. So yeah, what's going on in that enterprise space, and how do we really approach?
That's a great question. Okay, so many of these enterprise clients are so far behind what a lot of the people in this group represent. Like they have a formula. These enterprise clients, these enterprise businesses, they have a formula. They have 1, 2, 3 money, and they do it over and over and over and over. And the thing is, in a lot of cases, they're not that innovative. They have a formula, they stick to the formula. And so they haven't really changed in a lot of places over time. I was talking to somebody from a senior executive at Kimberly-Clark the other day. She was talking about training for just general digital, all sorts of things. This was digital project management in the beginning, but it got into all sorts of other pieces. And she's like, yeah, we have done things the same way for so many years, for decades and decades now. And now we have no choice. We have to do something different. And we don't even know where to start. We desperately need training. We desperately need people to fix these things. We desperately need people just to come in and show us how to get things done. I remember a few years ago, I was talking to somebody from, I think they were from KPMG. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they're KPMG. Which, if you don't know, it's a gigantic consulting firm. And they were like, yeah, like none of our stuff is automated. Like we have to do this process and this process and this process and this process. And I was like, we can help you out with that. And I should have jumped on it. I really, really should have jumped out and called them and gotten in. I had like 100 other things at the time, but this was like a year and a half ago. This wasn't like 10 years ago. And it was just because they didn't know how. They had their process. And they did step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, money, and they just didn't change it because why change it? It's not broke. Yeah. But now things are broke. Now they can't reach the customers. They can't get out there. They can't do the things they were doing. Their formula doesn't work anymore, and they have to change. And so they need people like the people listening to teach them how to do that.
That makes a lot of sense. So when you say like us helping them change, is that because we're good at handling virtual conversations, or we're good at digital systems, or we're good at selling in an online format? Like, is there a different pieces of that they need help with? Or is it just, hey, whatever our skill set is as a digital marketer, which most of us always been remote for like a long time now, jump in and help? How does that work?
All right. So this is the thing. We're talking about, in many cases, 2 completely different like classes of knowledge. Like the things that we as digital marketers take for granted, like up until very recently, having Zoom calls and working remotely, and things like knowing how to do SEO or knowing how to send effective email systems or set up email systems, knowing how to do marketing automation, knowing how to do so many of these things, like things that you do every single day. When you get into those big businesses, in many cases, they have no idea what you're talking about. A really good example of this is, I remember this was 2, 3 years ago, maybe 3, 4, something like that. One of my team members went to an enterprise digital marketing summit in Atlanta, and it was all enterprise people there and like him. And he came back and he told me, he was like, yeah, nobody here thinks SEO works. And I was like, okay, they're wrong. And he's like, well, they said this other thing that, it doesn't work. And I'm like, yeah, but here's my formula: 1, 2, 3 money. And it works every single time. And we rank pages at the top of the search engines. And then we cut down our spend, on PPC spend over and over and over and over again. Like the return on investment is gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
And they just don't know how to do it. They don't have the formula. They don't know they don't have the steps. They don't know how to execute on those kinds of plans. And that's just one thing. I mean, you're talking, in many cases, it's not one thing, it's everything.
So how do we take our knowledge? Let's say SEO is a great one. So a ton of people in this group that are SEO experts. How do we take our SEO knowledge and actually make an approach to an enterprise client that we've never tiptoed into those bigger offices before? And how do we do that virtually?
All right. So here's the thing: is my experience is that marketers, not all of them, but many marketers, they don't like to sell. They like to market.
Yeah.
So they're really good at SEO. And so what they do is they just generate tons of traffic, and then they create their calls to action, they create their marketing automation, and they just automatically sell. And by the time somebody gets to them, they're a super warm lead and they're ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's what marketers like doing. And when you work with these enterprise businesses, you have to sell. It is a direct sale. It is not. It is less often a marketing sale. It does happen. It absolutely happens that you have marketing based sales. But if you're going to do enterprise sales, you have to go do enterprise based sales or enterprise sales. So the number one thing I would tell people, it's like I think is one of the best pieces of advice somebody gave me a long time ago. Figure out who you want to work with. Go do your homework. Go, whatever the thing is that you do, go look at, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000, whatever it is. Figure out who's doing something that's meaningful to you. Who's doing something that you want to work with? What department of that group, what area, whatever that thing is. Find out who your targets are. Maybe make a list of 10.
Okay.
Go onto LinkedIn, figure out who's in charge of that department and what they're doing now and what they're doing wrong, or if you think you can improve upon what they're doing, and call them. Just get on the phone.
Just like that.
Yeah, just call them. Leave them a message. Hey, nice to meet you. My name is Jason. I work for blah, blah, blah company, and we're doing, I'm an expert in XYZ things, and I think that we can really help you guys out, and I'd love to talk to you. And the thing is, very few people actually do this.
I was going to say, it's so old school. Who does that? But I guess that's the point.
Yeah, like nobody does it. Like, just get on the phone and leave a message, and give them a call. It's got to be personal. You gotta. It's just like any other marketing automation sale. You got to make it super personal. Looked you up on Facebook. I looked you up on LinkedIn. I know who you are. I know what you look like. I know what you do. I know that you like fishing on Sundays and you live by the ocean and blah blah blah. It's got to be the kind of thing where when you get on the phone with them, you know what to say and you know who they are and you know what they're interested in. You know all the different pieces. You've done your homework and you know what their department is doing and how you can help them. And then it's actually really easy because it's just having a conversation with somebody.
Fascinating. I mean, who just freaking calls somebody anymore? But I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's some of the best customers I've gotten were because we just got on the phone and we called people. I said, I want to work with those guys. Those guys are doing something amazing, and I want to be a part of it. And I just got on the phone and said, I want to be a part of it. And they were great. They said, I mean, somebody's going to do the work.
Yeah, that's true.
Somebody's going to do the thing. It's not like, that they're just going to go on forever and they're never going to send an email. Like, somebody's got to do it. It might as well be you.
I love that. Okay, so then you get them on the phone. You say, hey, and they say, sure, what can you do? Do you have a virtual meeting, a discovery, a proposal ready? I mean, because that's a pretty complicated client sometimes, right? These enterprise clients can have a lot of things going on.
They can, but the thing is, it's just like any other sale. You're going to do it. You're going to focus on the thing that you're good at. You're not going to sell everything in the world. You're going to say, like, I'm good at this one thing. I'm the best at this one thing. And, I take it still from a very consultative approach in that, like, I want to be a part of the thing. what are the problems you're facing right now having to do with this particular piece of whatever? So, and they'll tell you like, oh, we have this problem, we have this problem. Oh, okay. Well, are you doing this thing? Are you doing this thing? How are you doing this? What tools are you using? Where do you think you could be better? Are you reaching the audience in the way that you want to reach them? Are you making the money you want to make? How are you measuring that much money? If it's a public company, you can ask things like, it's much easier to ask like, how much money are you making? What's your return on investment on that? Right? Frankly, I do that with small businesses as well. Ask the money questions. And what I've found is that the big businesses are totally fine to tell you about it. Small business owners are a little bit more like hold it a little closer, but somebody who's smart realizes that marketers got to know that stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't, maybe you got to sign an NDA if they're going to share everything with you or whatever, but
Sure.
Who cares? So I take that consultative approach. I ask them, what's the problem? How are you solving it? What could be done better? And then I come up with a solution.
That's brilliant. That's really, really cool. You mentioned virtual lunches right before we jumped on this live.
Yep.
How does that go? Like, that's a cool way to meet people.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll send a card. We'll send a postcard. Hey, nice to meet you. And then I'll follow with the phone call. It's got to be a warm lead if you're going to do a virtual lunch. And It can't be something where you've never met somebody. Most people aren't going to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
But what I do is, maybe we have one talk with them first, and then I say something like, "I want to buy you lunch. I know you're on the other side of the world, or it's a pandemic or whatever the situation is. Most of the time, they're somewhere else in the U.S. I want to buy you lunch. Where do you like to eat? I'm going to have it mailed over to you. I'm going to call Uber Eats. I'm going to have it sent over to you. Let me know what time. I'll have your favorite dish ready for you, and we'll just sit down. We'll have a Zoom meeting, and then I'll have my lunch. You can have your lunch. It's not the same as being in person, but it's the best we can do right now."
That's really cool. That's actually kind of heartwarming. Like I can almost feel that because you just don't get to do that right now.
Yeah, you don't. You really don't. Huh. And this way you just sit and, and a lot of times, it depends on who you're working with and like what they're interested in. But a lot of times when I do those lunches, I like it to be personal because there's more relationship forming thing. Like when we get done with lunch or before lunch, we can talk about business. But when we're having lunch, like, how are your kids? How's your family? Where are you from? What do you do? Like, what are the hard things in your job? Like, have you gone on vacations recently? What is your life about? Those kinds of questions.
Yeah. Oh man, that's cool. I love that. Okay. So another thing that comes up with enterprise clients that we hear about frequently, I work with a bunch of surgeons and surgery groups. So this comes up for us occasionally, but everybody wants to work with a decision maker, right? Who's the boss? I don't want to have to go through 3 people in a committee. How do I get this done? But in an enterprise setting, you're often going to have to talk to multiple people to get a buying decision made, right?
Yeah. So it's not a fast sale. It's really not a fast sale. Now, the thing is with selling an enterprise, it's not about the money so much. It's about getting it done and knowing they're going with somebody who's just going to take care of it. Because we have sales that we do where we're doing consulting work and we're billing $20,000-$30,000 per month, and they don't even blink. They don't blink an eye, and we're billing at $150 an hour and up, and up to $300 an hour, and they don't blink because they know that the problem you're solving is worth way more money than the amount of money that you're charging. So even if you're charging $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month and up, I have friends at not KPMG, Deloitte, and I want to say they were charging like $850,000 or $900,000 for 4 people for like 4 months or 5 months, something like that. Like an insane amount of money, and selling to these giant enterprise businesses, because the thing is that business realizes this is like a $20 million a year problem or more. I have one friend that was working on a project for one of the biggest companies in the world, and it was I don't know, $200 or $300 million a year problem, right? It's a gigantic problem because these problems are worth so much more money at scale. And they're charging, I don't know, $1 million, whatever. They don't care.
No brainer. Yeah.
Yeah. This is absolute no brainer. So when you're working at those higher levels, it's not so much about the money. It's about being super professional. It's about, you don't have to wear a suit. Like I don't wear a suit, but when I mean professional, I mean, you know what you're talking about, you do your job, you're on time, you take care of your stuff, you do all your reports, you make sure that they know what's going on, you make sure that the job is done right every single time. And that it's not just done right, it's done really, really well every single time. And when you do that, then it's pretty easy.
I love it. I love it. So do they ask for testimonials, referrals, that kind of thing at the enterprise level, or?
You know, sometimes, I mean, they'll look you up. It depends on how good a job you did in the sale.
I totally agree. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the sales from my agency come from my videos. You know, like my videos that are online about how to build SaaS businesses, how to do all sorts of things. And by the time they get to talk to me, they've already watched all my videos. And so, you're right.
Yes, I'm drinking some Starbucks tea, and I'm inhaling it instead of drinking it, evidently.
I was in the gym.
I don't have COVID. We're good.
Inhaled a bunch of water, and I was coughing. It's a CrossFit gym, and like everybody's super separated. But I started coughing, and everyone's like,
"Oh, yeah. Dude, where's the thermometer?"
Yeah. What was I going to say?
So the testimonial thing. If you your videos that you're already
So by the time somebody's watched all my videos, they're like, this guy clearly knows what he's talking about. And so, maybe they'll say like, send me some, companies you've worked with, but they don't necessarily want the testimonial. They want to talk to that person because they're about to pay us a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, and they want to know that the people are good, but what something that we do make sure to do is maintain a high of a reputation on Google as possible. So Google reviews, because it's the first thing they're going to do is go look you up on Google. Yep. So if you don't have a 5-star review and you're going to be charging a pile of money, then you got a problem.
Yeah, that's a good point. By the way, that's a good pro tip for anybody on any agency doing any kind of service for any type of client. Google reviews matter.
Yep.
It's exactly. They're going to Google your name and your business, and they're gonna see stars. They might not see any stars, but man, don't have just 1 2-star review. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, a really easy way for smaller businesses to do this is to build up some quick reviews. I would never ever lie on Google reviews, but what you can do is you can have people that know you just say like, oh, like Jason's a good guy, Chris, Chris, great guy. He helped me out with XYZ things. And it's fine for them to say, like, I didn't work with him. But a lot of times what will happen is like, I have these one-on-one conversations with people and they ask me, like, oh, what can I do for you? You just gave me all this value. I tell them, go give me a review on Google. That would be really helpful. Go give my agency a review on Google. Don't lie. Just say like, we talked and I helped you, and give me a 5-star for that. Because for the most part, well, one, if people go to your Google reviews and they just see like, 20 5-star reviews, and every one of them is like, I talked to this guy and he was amazing. Whether you worked with them, whether they had results, it's just like amazing guy, amazing guy, amazing guy, amazing guy. Like somebody's gonna be like, cool, I guess this is a good guy. Fantastic.
I even read that most people don't actually click on them to read them. They just look at the stack of stars. They click if there's negative stars, like if it's 2.5 stars, then they start wanting to read. But if it's all 5s, they just okay.
Yep, exactly.
That's super cool. All right, I have one more question.
Just one. That's good. How are we doing on time?
I can have more, but okay. Trying to respect your time. One more question. So how do we, when we're in there with the client, we're doing the enterprise thing, are you giving them some sort of like a retainer up front, or are you doing the work and then billing on a weekly, quarterly, monthly? How does that go?
It's all over the place. If we're doing consulting work, so this is the thing. Like I think we talked about this the last time we talked. When you get to a certain point in your career, your value is more about what you know than what you can do. And you can teach their groups how to do things. So when you get up to that level, then you're just billing. Like what I like to do is I just bill it hourly and just tell them like, yeah, like it's probably going to be, I don't know, 30, 40 hours of work or whatever it is. And we just bill you hourly. Because but if it's something where I know like they're going to be working with me every single blah for how much time, then I'll set up a retainer. Or if we're doing web dev, or we're doing just app consult or app dev consulting or whatever it may be, then it's going to be structured a bit different. If we're bringing in teams to do work, then we're doing it on a flat fee plus plus a certain amount afterwards.
Mhm.
We'll do like on there's a whole process behind all of that. It would take me, if you want, I'm happy to go into it, like how we do it.
Yeah, please. I think people would find that really helpful. How do you break it down?
Great. So all right. So let's say we're going to do a development project. So what we do is we do an estimate for free. So, and we're careful about who we do estimates for, because it's not a fast project. You know, to do an estimate might take us anywhere between an hour and 10 hours to do that. So we'll almost always do the estimate for free, because I hate it when vendors won't tell me how much something costs. So we'll knock out the estimate. We have a spreadsheet that goes through all the, by the way, we generally build SaaS businesses at JH Media Group. So like a mid-market company wants to have a new SaaS offering. We do the consulting, validation, like and then the build and deployment. Then we help them find people to staff it and all sorts of things. So where's it going with this? So what we'll do is we'll first do the estimate, which we have a spreadsheet that we just fill in the numbers to show us like how much, what do you need in the thing. It usually has, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours of conversations with them to kind of figure out generally what it's going to look like. Okay. We also build in the first year operating cost as well. So our estimate documents have that's a min max most likely, and then average of those, and then we have plus minus 20% on that as well. If you look at my blog, if you look at jhmediagroup.com, somewhere on the blog, there's a article that says how to estimate a large project or SaaS, and the spreadsheet is there. You can just go and download it.
Okay, cool.
So we go through that. We give them the estimate, and then that gives them a nice range. That plus minus 20% range, which by the way can be like a couple $100,000 sometimes, like even be a gigantic range. But they can see that you worked it out, like you know what the features are. And that's actually one of the most important pieces. Is not always about the money necessarily, because they're going to cut things out anyway to get to where they want to be money wise. They want to know from step one, do you know what you're doing, and can you convey the value right away? And when you're asking the right questions, then you're conveying the value right away. And maybe they have some idea about the way they want to do something, and when you come in and be like, yeah, that's a cool idea, but I tried that, it doesn't work, do it like this instead, here's a way cheaper way to do it, a way better way to do it, then right away they're like, okay, cool, this group knows what they're doing. So we've got the estimate, then they can make a decision if they want to move forward from the estimate. Our first step after that is a discovery process and information architecture. So we spend anywhere between a few weeks, and I think the greatest amount was almost a year, just doing information architecture research, figuring out like what is going into this thing. And the year wasn't like full time for a year, just kind of like it was a slower project that went on for that much time. But we have had projects that were like 6 months easy, just doing planning on a project, on like large manufacturing projects. And you're talking like an information architecture document that's 1,000 pages long. I mean, it is a gigantic architecture document. But even if you're doing a little tiny website, like a 5-page website, you still got to write that stuff down, and it's got to be super, super, super specific, because that's where you lose money. Like when somebody comes in and they're like, oh, well, what about this? You didn't, if you didn't say we're doing it or we're not doing it, who's to say if you're responsible or not? So when like that manufacturing system I'm talking about, there was one place where we had said, we're not building this shipping module that we talked a lot about. We're not going to build it. A year goes by, the CEO comes back and he says, what about that shipping module? We talked a lot about that. I think you guys owe us that shipping module. And if we hadn't written to our architecture, we are not building the shipping module, we would have had to compromise on it.
So that would have been expensive.
It would have been, I think it would have cost us $20,000 or $30,000 to build that. So where was I going with this? So writing it down is super important. It's like probably the place where most small businesses, most small agencies lose money doing custom work. They don't write it down. They don't do their architecture. So anyway, we go through the architecture development process. We have a final document that outlines every single thing. We put hours, min max most likely for every single task in the entire system. And then we produce a very narrow range on what it's going to cost if we stick to that architecture. And then we come in and we say, like, this is your range, plus minus 5-10%, something like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be about that. If you change stuff, which you very well may, you probably will, that costs more money. And this is why I was saying it's kind of a base plus money at the end, because you plan it for big projects and small projects as well. If you're building something new, you plan it waterfall, you build it agile.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. It saves a lot of money.
That's a great way to say it. We do the same thing in our agency. We plan for the project when we're doing big projects that we can clearly define. And then we have an hourly clause in there that allows for the scope creep or whatever else pops up, because things happen. And year over year, the past 4 years, we've measured this. I wish we'd measured it 15 years ago. But I think 30 to 32% of our annual revenue comes from the scope creep.
Yep.
It's fantastic. So many agencies are like, how do you avoid scope creep? I'm like, avoid it. Bring it on. I make a ton of money on scope creep.
Well, so what we do, yes, I mean, let me think about how to say this. We don't really consider it scope creep. It's scope creep if we're losing money on it.
Okay.
So it's you can say it's scope creep for the customer, but we knew going in that they were going to change things. And usually when we go into a development project, we'll tell them, like, you're good. Like, we have all this planning. You saw, we did all the wireframes, we did all the stuff. And as soon as we get into it, you're going to change it. And they go, I don't know. We planned it a lot. And we'll say,
we got this.
No, you're still going to change it, promise. And you have to budget for that. And so when we go to build it, we build it in an agile process that enables them to change it as we move along. And they know going in that they're probably going to incur that cost. And if they want to stick to exactly what's built and not make any changes, then we'll stick to that price that we gave them. No problem. Or within that range that we gave them. But they always change things because that's the nature of software.
It is, yeah. The nature of what you build is so that way. It's way different than a logo or, I mean, but even a basic website, something as simple as that, people can't take their hands off of it. They can't avoid changing things.
Exactly. And you just don't see things. Like even the best of the best of the best, we still miss stuff. And that's fine. And that's the nature of what it is.
So plan for it. Good point.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, so, Jason.
You got more? I know we're a little over time, but
we're a little over. So let me do this. How can people, if they want to find out, I mean, you're just a wealth of information, but I don't know that, do you have a platform that helps people like us grow and learn more? I mean, you're not here selling us something. And by the way, anybody watching, I don't ever do affiliate commissions, nothing. There's nothing going on here. I just want you to have solid information on how to move forward. And this guy's crushing the enterprise business world. Okay.
So if you just want to reach out to me and just talk about stuff, you can send me an email on jhmediagroup.com. There's just a contact form. Just get me there. Or you can get me through my LinkedIn, but I get like 100 requests per day on LinkedIn, so I don't look at it a whole lot. But if you jhmediagroup.com.
Cool.
So you can reach me there. You can also go online if you search Kicking SaaS. That's Kicking SaaS. There's I don't remember if it's called How to Kick SaaS or Kicking SaaS. I think it's Kicking SaaS is the Facebook group. And I run just a group there. I actually haven't touched it in a while, but there's a bunch of really, really smart people. If you're building SaaS businesses, it's a good resource.
I love that.
And then the other thing is you can go to howtokicksaas.com. And that's a book that I've been slowly writing on SaaS development, SaaS business. And it's like, I don't know, it's like 300 pages now. And it's totally free. I just put it out there for all the people that want to build these kinds of businesses, because I've seen so many people lose so much money doing it. And I just think it's really important to tell people the step-by-step and how to go about doing these things. It's not finished. There's pieces missing, but it's a really good resource.
That's howtokicksaas.com.
Yep.
I'm just loading up in the comments for everybody can grab them. That's pretty fun. I like the names. And you got such a creative industry to work in. Use the SaaS words so many ways.
Yep. And then also, if anybody out there is in healthcare and long-term care, you can get me at my day-to-day thing that I'm doing right now, which is Cantata Health. And we build, like I said, EHR, electronic health record systems.
What's your EHR called? Is it Cantata?
Oh, it is called Cantata. It's funny you asked that question. It's kind of.
I'm in the surgery world. I work with
Yeah,
all the
it's
time
got a,
because of our surgeons.
it's got a terrible name. I don't know who named this thing, but I'm coming into it to help grow this business. It's called Net Solutions, which is not. I think when everything was moving to be digital, like 20 years ago, they didn't they didn't know where things were going. So this was like the solution for this long-term care EHR, and they named it that thing, but it wasn't what I would have named it.
I love how net was like the word for.
Yep.
Are you on the web? Are you on the net?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you have that? Do you have that AOL thing now?
Got the 400 CDs.
Yeah. That's so awesome. Well, Jason, man, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your time, and thanks for educating us truly and investing, paying it forward, I guess is the best way to say that. I really honestly do appreciate it. I learned some stuff today. We actually work in my agency in that small to mid-sized enterprise space with surgery groups. So it's not the big companies, but you gave me some great tips. Thank you.
Hold on, make sure I didn't miss anything. Sales pricing, professionalism, propose. Oh, one important thing. One last little point to leave with. Don't charge too little. When you go into the enterprise sales, if you're the lowest bidder, they're going to kick you out immediately. You want to be somewhere like middle and up on your pricing. Like if you're bidding against me and I'm bidding at $150 an hour and my price is going to be like 10 grand to 20 grand per month, and you come in at $1,000 per month, they're not even going to consider you
because they don't think you know what you're doing.
Yep, exactly.
It's obvious. It doesn't matter if you're sustainable. You'll fail. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're the best in the world. You're going to get kicked out if your price too low.
Brilliant. That's a great tip. We talk about pricing a ton in this group, and most people should honestly triple to quadruple at least their prices right now because the market can bear it. And everybody's so nervous. They think the reason people don't buy is for pricing. It's simply not pricing.
Yeah. If you're pricing, and people aren't buying because your pricing is too high and you're billing at $95 an hour, you're selling to the wrong people. And you don't want that. It's not going to help you.
It's not the way life works, and it's sure not going to help you grow.
Exactly.
Jason, thanks for hanging out. Enjoy Atlanta. Starting to be fall down there. Starting to get some nice weather. Yeah. And hopefully you can get back on an airplane soon. Do you have any idea when your next trip is?
All right, so I couldn't go south to South America this year, so I booked a place in Florida. I'm one of those people. So I'm going to be in Florida for the winter on the beach in a place called Satellite Beach, which
that's great though. That's different than just hitting it for the 4th of July weekend and storming it with all the crowd. I mean, just hanging out there. Jill and I were looking at a place for a long-term rental down there this winter as well, because there's nobody down there in the winter.
Yep.
There's no crowd. The restaurants aren't even open. I mean, you're just cooking in your own kitchen and staring at pretty sunsets.
Yep. It's in the 70s as a high. It's in the 60s.
Yeah. The water's too cold. Yeah. I mean, it's not a beach day, so there's not like 200 kids running around.
Exactly. So, but it's a heck of a lot better than 30 degrees and raining.
Yeah. Stuck in a city that's crammed. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Man, dude, great seeing you again. Have a fantastic Tuesday, it looks like. And we'll talk soon. Thanks, man.
Right. Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.